Hello, and a very good afternoon to all of you here. Welcome to our webinar 10 No and Low Cost Ways to Reduce Your Energy Bill and Carbon Footprint. Thank you all for joining us. I am Shashanka, and I'll be your host for today's session. I am joined by my colleague James, who will lead the main presentation. James and I are both advisors here at Business Energy Scotland, and we support businesses across Scotland to become more energy efficient by installing renewable measures, reducing their energy bills and carbon footprint. Before we proceed, we just want to let you know that the session is being recorded, and I would also like to remind you all to turn off your cameras and mics during the presentation. So to begin with, Business Energy Scotland, previously known as the Energy Efficiency Business Support Service, is a service funded by the Scottish Government. We provide free, impartial support and access to funding to help small and medium-sized enterprises save energy, carbon, and costs. The support is provided by our team of business energy advisors that cover the whole of Scotland with the support of a network of consultancies that provide technical expertise wherever needed. We provide a wide range of free support to help businesses identify energy and carbon saving opportunities, such as online guides and tools, skills development training, telephone consultations, on site assessments. We also provide free support to help businesses take the actions that are needed to implement energy and carbon saving opportunities. For example, help applying for the SME loan scheme, guidance on finding and selecting suitable installers or suppliers, support to get senior management buy-in for energy saving investments. It is worth mentioning that now is actually a great time to upgrade your heating. The Scottish Government's SME loan scheme is currently providing significant financial support to help Scottish small and medium-sized businesses upgrade to modern energy-efficient heating systems. This includes unsecured interest-free loans and cashback grants of up to £20,000 while the funds last. You can see some of our results on screen here that we are particularly proud of. The service has identified over £200 million of savings for Scottish SMEs, 24% average energy savings identified for businesses. It is good to think about what would that kind of financial saving mean for your business. In independent assessments, 9 out of 10 of the customers said that they would recommend the service to other businesses. If you are an SME based in Scotland and would like further support from our team and to access Scottish Government's SME loan scheme, you can apply on our website or by calling 0808 808 2268. As I have already said, today is about sharing some no and low cost ways that could help you reduce your energy bill and carbon footprint. And here's what we'll be covering today. We'll talk about what motivates businesses to review their energy costs. We'll then move on to the main session and finally finish with a question and answer session. So firstly, a bit more about what motivates us to review energy costs. Dozens of towns and cities across the UK have already declared a climate emergency and are aiming to be carbon neutral by 2030. Some councils have promised to introduce electric car hubs or build suitable homes to try to achieve that goal. This is a much more ambitious target than the UK government's, which is to reduce carbon emissions by 80% compared to the 1990 levels by 2050. Scotland as a whole is to become a net zero society. The landmark legislation, which is in line with the advice from the government's independent expert advisors, the UK Committee on Climate Change, commits Scotland to become a net zero society by 2045, which is 5 years before the rest of the UK. Ambitious government targets are outlined in the Energy Efficient Roadmap, a 20-year program containing a set of actions aimed at making Scotland's existing buildings near zero carbon wherever feasible by 2050, and in a way that is socially and economically suitable. New regulations and targets for owners of non-domestic buildings will build up on the current energy system of energy performance certificates and action plans. So why are energy prices soaring, and why do we need to wait for months for new equipment when the prices of solar panels, heat pumps, and other alternatives are rising? As the global population is projected to keep growing, our planet is more and more under pressure and resources are becoming more and more sparse. As resources deplete, it becomes more difficult and more expensive to obtain them. Example, mining companies must today dig several kilometers underground to extract reserves. As we can see in the graph, energy prices have soared by an average of over 200% since 2000. This was caused by a combination of strong demand from new energy emerging markets, example China, and other global economic events causing rising supply costs. For instance, the average real expense of bringing a new oil well online doubled between 2000 and 2010. With the quality of traditional reserves depleting, production is now shifting to sources such as tar sands and deepwater oil, whose extraction is not only more complex but also more costly. Deepwater projects require measures to protect the environment and worker safety, which is pushing costs even higher. More recently, prices began to surge as the demand increased when the world started to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and have gone up to record levels due to repercussions of the war in Ukraine and Russia slowly switching off gas supplies to Europe. So, taking all that into account, it became even more crucial to prioritize money and energy saving activities. Before we start spending money and undertaking large projects, we can first find simple, no cost and low cost ways of making the most of existing infrastructure. Improving how these resources are managed and controlled can give great results and reduce unnecessary energy costs. Finally, once these options have been considered, carefully plan any energy efficiency upgrades which require more significant investment. I will now hand over to my colleague James, who will lead you through the 10 no and low cost ways to reduce your energy bills. Over to you, James.
Thanks, Shashanka, and good afternoon to everyone. It's great to see such a large turnout for the session, and I hope you're having a fab week already. So the first thing I'd like to cover off is lighting. Now, lighting is an excellent example of how before investing in changes to existing systems, there are several low-cost techniques that can achieve savings and make the most of what you already have. Now, there's no better light than natural light, and it's great in terms of colour and intensity, and it's also beneficial to increasing staff productivity as well. And best of all, it's completely free. So to make sure your business is making the most of all this natural light, we recommend you start by keeping your workplace's windows and skylights, if applicable, clean and free of obstructions. As you can see in the photo, artificial lighting is being used, when in reality all that will be needed is for the windows and skylights to be properly cleaned. Often curtains or blinds, stickers or piles of items on windowsills can clutter up the window space. Clearing this could mean you can switch off your lighting all the way up until autumn, creating a better working environment while also reducing your energy bill. As well as this, it's an idea to think about rearranging the office itself to ensure that your desk-based workers are near to the windows where they can benefit from that natural light and reducing the need for having artificial lighting on during the day. Now, I'm aware that we're giving this presentation as we're getting into the winter months where that natural light is slowly starting to deplete throughout the day. But it's also worth considering the curtains and blinds. Keeping those closed when you don't have that benefit of the outside light can also retain the heat within the building, so you're still maximising the benefit that the windows can offer you. Now, buildings and their content store heat, and most buildings will stay warm for long after the heating has been switched off. Yet many organisations leave it switched on and powered up all the way until the end of the day when staff are going home. This can be changed by appropriate use of timers and controls, for instance, setting the heating to switch on prior to staff arriving, so there's an ambient temperature at the start of the day, and it'll also reduce instances of staff manually adjusting that thermostat on arrival just to speed up the heating a bit. Correct timer controls will also mean that your system switches off at a time that will ensure desired temperatures are maintained to the end of the working day, without making sure that the office is heated after everybody's left. The same goes for any periods where your premises or areas within the premises are unoccupied. In most cases, that's during the night or at weekends. So you need to make sure you understand the usage patterns of the organisation and when your downturn times start, so you can control that heating system accordingly. Business Energy Scotland have produced a free document that will help you optimise your heating settings. You can use it at various times throughout the year, taking temperature readings at the start and end of each day over the period of a few days. The template is available on our website, and we've also got a virtual stand here at the Business Week where any links that we discuss will be available for those of you that don't have access to the chat function on this webinar. Otherwise, my colleague Shashanka will be posting the links that I discuss as we go throughout the presentation. Now, the template should be used for a week or two every quarter, or when appropriate in relation to external temperature changes. You can monitor several areas, so different rooms, floors, anywhere where the temperature might vary. You can find out what your desired temperatures are in each of these different zones. You can record system start and switch off times, record temperatures, and then you can alter the timings to optimise your heating system start and switch off times. This means you can avoid overheating your space and money. It's not going to be wasted. It's estimated you can actually save up to 8% on your energy bill by reducing room temperatures by just 1 degree Celsius. If issues with the heating can't be resolved through automatic means, manual adjustments will be required. However, employees often don't know how to do this and don't know how to use the system. You often have employees come into the office at the start of the day, oh, it's cold in here, switch the heating on, but don't even consider touching the thermostat. Therefore, you should select key staff that should be trained on how to use the heating and ensure that it's being used correctly. To aid this, once you've agreed on the right settings for the space that they're working in, these should be displayed near heating controls to ensure that designated staff can make changes and everyone knows who the correct people are to be touching that thermostat or heating system. It's also key to make sure that your radiators, heaters, or airflow vents are free from obstructions, as you're obviously losing a lot of the heat that could be entering the room there just by the clutter that we mentioned previously. So water is abundant in Scotland, but its treatment, supply, that requires energy, and that leads to costs and a carbon footprint. It's really important to look at your bill and see what you're actually being charged for, and if it's an estimate, you should be making sure that this is reflective of what you're actually using, and this can be done by monitoring water use. We'd recommend a site walk around. Make sure you're equipped with another one of our free guides that's also available on the website. It's important that you're aware of the location of your water meter, and even more importantly, to make sure that the serial number matches that on your bill. Readings from this should be taken at least monthly, and if there are any inaccuracies picked up on your bill, this needs investigating and can be due to leaks or excessive end user usage. Either one of these needs to be remedied ASAP, as any leakage, even if it's a low flow, can cost the organisation up to £752 per year in water and sewage costs. To help identify a leak, a site walk around would be useful, especially if it's carried out when there's nobody else in the building outside of typical working hours. That way you're more likely to be able to hear any drips or running water. To identify any excessive end user usage, such as a hose or a tap that's being left on when not actually in use, might actually be more useful to carry out that walk around during operating hours. One of the checks you could do to measure the water flow rate, as an example, push taps, they shouldn't really stay on for more than 10 seconds at a time, and a tap should not take more than 12 seconds to fill up a 1 litre bottle. So draft proofing is a relatively cheap, and although it's often ignored in favour of more expensive technological solutions, it's one of the most cost-effective ways of reducing heat loss. In winter, it's very obvious to hear and feel where drafts are coming in. However, even when it's less obvious, heat escaping from your building can end up costing the business a lot of money. Containing the heat and excluding the cold means that the heat will be retained and your heating optimised, creating a much more pleasant environment for staff. For example, reducing drafts and raising comfort levels may actually lead to higher productivity and a healthier and more enjoyable work environment for employees and visitors to site. Improvements to windows can deliver reductions in noise levels as well as reducing heat loss. Some of the key areas to look out for with draft-proofing opportunities are in the doors, windows, even old floors and chimneys. Some simple, cheap ways to remedy this is through sealant, adhesive foam tape, draft exclusers at door recesses, and you can have a look at the seals around the door and window opening, and you can actually replace the rubber seal itself if that's starting to look a bit crushed. It's important to remember though that natural ventilation in a building is also crucial, so when you're sealing up any of these drafts or gaps, there must still be sufficient allowance of ventilation to throw through the space, otherwise you could be looking at other issues aside from your energy costs, such as damp, which could actually work out even worse than the remedy you're actually looking to implement in the first place. So is there one person in the office that always likes the temperature to be colder than everyone else? Or do you have another one that always needs to wear 3 cardigans and a scarf and they're still complaining that it's unbearably cold in the office? Setting an ideal temperature that tries to keep everybody happy isn't always possible, even if the end goal is to increase productivity, lower those energy bills. Also often we see offices where the air conditioning switched on 1 minute, quickly followed by someone else firing up the heating because it got too cold and you've got the two trying to battle it out. So to help avoid this situation, there are a couple of tips for the price of one. Now, we're all starting to return to the offices. Pretty much we're working at the capacity that is intended going forward now post-pandemic. So you could consider introducing hot desking. Now, believe it or not, people are different and no one temperature is going to be right for everyone. And at the same time, most buildings have got warmer areas, such as those next to server rooms or equipment, and colder areas, so nearer the doors and windows and further away from the equipment. So if you can, let staff take advantage of this and let them sit where they feel most comfortable. By doing this, you might even need to have the air conditioning on less than you had previously, or the heating at all. Furthermore, if in accordance with company policy, you can consider allowing staff to work from home or on a hybrid basis. If there's nobody in the office, you don't need to heat the office and light the office, so it could be a win-win for both parties. Now, staff training is a great way to create an understanding of the need to be energy efficient throughout the business through onboarding and regular training. To help train your staff, we've developed the Resource Efficiency at Work Staff Training Pack and the very catchy name to go with it. And that's a free training video, downloadable presentation, quiz, and employee certification. It's ideal to use as part of new employees' induction onboarding or as part of annual refresher training for existing staff members. Resource efficiency experts and experienced staff trainers have developed the training materials which contain excellent foundation material. It'll help dispel any common myths on energy, water, or raw material efficiency that your staff might hold, and others that may be barriers to action. On completion of the Resource Efficiency at Work training presentation, staff should have a good understanding of the drivers for resource efficiency and the part that they can play in helping your organisation use energy, water, and raw materials more efficiently. To test that knowledge, we've prepared a short quiz that can be downloaded, and you can then ask staff to complete that. When an employee passes the test, don't forget to reward them with their Resource Efficiency at Work certificate. We've prepared a template for this which can be downloaded and then updated with the employee's name. By recording the date on the certificate too, you can begin to run refresher courses and reissue that certification annually to maintain training. So the darker nights are now coming in. That means that staff are going to be flicking on that light switch earlier and earlier throughout the autumn and winter. All of this extra wattage costs money. What most businesses don't realise is that lighting can be as much as 50% of their energy bill. Now, not all rooms are in use at all times. So meeting rooms, storage cupboards, kitchens, toilets, corridors, they don't need to have a light on all the time, but they often do just due to staff leaving it on out of habit, walking in, turning it off. It's a small thing. A small investment in lighting sensor technology is another solution to turning unneeded lights off, but staff cooperation is not only free, it can be part of a wider behaviour change around resource efficiency. To help encourage everyone to turn off the lights that are not needed, you could run a switch off campaign. Everything you need is available for free online, including a range of professionally designed downloadable posters, stickers, and web graphics that you can use. So step 1, you can launch your campaign through a variety of communication channels, so email, intranet, face-to-face, or even notice boards in public and staff areas. Whichever channels are used, you should share the reasons why you are launching the campaign. Outline any proposed changes, such as new signage, timescales, what behaviours you'd like to see staff adopt, the benefits of the new behaviours, and finally the campaign targets. For example, to reduce energy consumption by 20% within 2 months. Step 2, ensure your lights are clearly labelled so that staff understand what lights they can and cannot switch off. I'll be going into that in a bit more detail later on in another slide. Step 3, print and display our switch off posters and stickers. This will reinforce the messaging used in step 1 and act as a reminder to staff of the importance of switching off. And finally, communicate the progress of the campaign to your staff on a regular basis to maintain that momentum of the campaign and reinforce the message. Report on how you're progressing towards your targets, highlight positive behaviours, and mention any improvements that are required. Demonstrate how, with little effort, staff are helping the organisation to save energy and money. It's extremely important that all of your communications are fun, engaging, and positive. But most of all, make sure you thank the staff for their efforts. So, research indicates that people are more likely to engage with resource efficiency communications when they can see clear benefits. Incentives can be in a number of different ways. For example, equipment or lights are left on. A reminder sticker or a red flag could serve as a gentle but highly visible reminder for this. But for this to work, the equipment needs to be used by the same person day after day. So it might not necessarily be appropriate for those that are hot desking or working on a hybrid basis. There could be a prize to recognise the efforts of an individual, or you could link it to your league tables and award a team prize. You can get creative with this one to get people thinking about resource efficiency more often as they go about their day-to-day work. For example, why not create an annual suggestion scheme and offer a prize for the person that spots the best resource efficiency opportunity in your organisation? And you can run an award scheme to recognise employees or teams who have made an effort to adopt new resource efficiency behaviours. This could be monthly or yearly. There are also many opportunities to recognise good performance through entering external awards such as Green Apple or Vibes. You can establish a company, building or team energy reduction target and offer a collective or individual incentive if this target is reached. For example, a donation to a charity chosen by a staff member, a group night out or a day trip, or even a half day of annual leave. It's important to regularly update people, though, on the progress towards this target to maintain that level of motivation. This could be communicated using a thermometer-style progress chart in a prominent area of the site where everyone will see it, as well as other communication channels such as team briefings and regular email updates. So we spoke a bit earlier about engaging staff. Now, faced with a bank of unlabelled switches, it's impossible to know which areas are controlled by which switches. This can make it difficult for employees to turn off lights in unoccupied areas, but it might also mean that co-workers could be disturbed or even a hazard created if lights are turned off as people experiment with what turns off what. A lighting map will help staff to understand the layout more easily, and you can find a few more details about that on our website under the switch off campaign as well. Now, finally, the 10th way that you could save energy. When we're out on site, we see examples of communal fridges within the workplace that just aren't running efficiently. They're wasting money, adding to unnecessary food waste. So we'll give you some easy steps to help staff and you avoid that in the business. So first of all, make sure the fridge is set to the correct temperature. Only half of us know that our fridge should be set below 5 degrees. There is a dial inside the fridge that can control how cold or mild that is in there. So maybe just make sure that staff are aware to either not touch this or to ensure that it's set at a specific point, because I'm sure a lot of people just turn that around and don't know whether it's cold at one way or more friggy at the other side. When dairy products and other food items are stored at the wrong temperature, they can perish quicker. So making sure your fridge is set to the correct temperature is a quick and easy way to reduce both unnecessary energy and food wastage. If you don't know how to check the temperature, and like most offices and homes, the manual was put in a location for safekeeping, that's now a mystery to all, there's a handy tool on the Love Food Hate Waste website that can help you. Second is you can use a thermometer. So if you keep a fridge thermometer inside the fridge itself at all times, you can keep an eye on that temperature every time you open the door. They're available for not that too high a price from retailers such as Amazon, eBay, or high street shops such as Lakeland, Wilko, and others. One of the key things is making sure that staff keep the door shut. Especially in offices, staff can be bad for leaving the fridge door open. As they get their milk for a cup of tea or coffee, it's just easier to leave it open, they forget to close it. They're not doing it out of malice, it's just convenient. However, this can have costly effects to the business and also the food that's stored inside the fridge itself. Each time the door is open, that temperature will shoot up and it will take hours to cool back down again, compared to the couple of seconds it takes to lose that cold temperature. On the same sort of theme as this, absolutely don't put hot food in the fridge. Cool cooked food at room temperature only and place that in the fridge within 1 or 2 hours. The fridge isn't there to help speed things up and get it cooler quicker. You can keep it out on the side and then put it in when it's a more ambient temperature. And finally, storing food in the right areas of the fridge. So some parts of the fridge are less cool than others. For example, the fridge door is naturally the warmest point. So the top and middle shelves, they should be ready to eat foods. The bottom shelves there, the raw meat, poultry and fish. And then the salad drawers are, as the name suggests, that's for salads, veg and fruit. So measuring and monitoring your energy usage is essential in any bid to save energy. It's a skill that every organisation, from the quirkiest office kiosk to the mightiest corporation, should master. We can show you how. Our tried and tested energy usage tracking spreadsheet, honed on real-life casework, can help you to do this. You can identify patterns of wasteful behaviour, highlight equipment faults and human errors that waste energy and money, can encourage and reward staff by revealing their energy-saving achievements, and you can compare your organisation's performance to industry standard. We also lift the lid on lurking profit monsters that eat away at your profits, provide a layman's introduction to key performance indicators, and offer free to download spreadsheets to collate and utilise your audit findings. Please take a minute to familiarise yourself with each one. If you suspect there's a chance that any profit monster could be at large in your business, stay calm and follow the instructions at the end of this message. Staff engagement feedback is also key. And through monitoring and measuring, you will highlight areas where energy consumption is reduced and patterns have arisen. With this information, it's important to share the good news stories as well as the discussion points with staff as to why anomalies or patterns have been found. And that way it keeps that positive experience for staff members throughout and keeps that momentum going for the next point that could be a great focus for the organisation. So I hope you found this presentation beneficial. I hope there are things in there that you can take away and apply to your own business. And although a lot of these might seem like very self-explanatory or simple methods, if they didn't work, we wouldn't be discussing them. So it's definitely worth taking that away. If there are any of these which aren't being followed at the moment, maybe have a look at applying them in your business and then monitoring to see what positive results you can get. We'll now open the floor to any questions. So if you've got a question, please post it into the Teams chat, and Shashanka and myself will pick that up and address any questions that you might have. Yep, so the session is being recorded, so that will be available in a few days after this point, so not a problem there, that'll be sent out. We did have one direct question come in just relating to lights themselves. So the question was, is it more energy efficient to leave lights on throughout the day rather than turn them off and then turn them on again multiple times? So we have heard this one before. That's actually a myth. Now, it does stem from a certain level of truth with older type of lights where they require a bit more energy to turn them on. So think sort of fluorescent strip lights, that kind of thing, where there's a bit of warmth that needs to take place in order for them to be at that full lighting capacity. But those days are kind of much further behind us now. So ideally, you'll be using LED lighting these days, and LED lighting is just as efficient when you turn it on as throughout the day when it's left on. So please make sure you're turning the lights off when they're not needed at all. So we've had another question about what companies are likely to have to produce in 2023 to report their carbon footprint. So if you want to get in contact with us to assist in helping you apply some measures which can help to reduce your energy consumption, we can look at putting forward some reporting for you in terms of your current consumption based on invoices and spend at the moment. And if we were to go down a further, more detailed route, if you're looking at certain measures that you actually want to implement and you've got quotes spoken to suppliers, we can look at doing some more detailed audit reporting for you as well via our consultancy framework. So to the attendee that asked that question and anyone else that's looking for assistance in understanding their carbon footprint, if you want to get in touch with Business Energy Scotland through our website, that would be a great port of call for you to start the journey in that sense. So another question relating to the lighting. So generally, when I'm talking about fluorescent lighting, we're sort of going way back now to much older kind. So really, if you're not using that space, turn that lighting off and you will see a benefit in it. I would have thought there were very few lights that are still in use at the moment that would actually have any benefit in being left on all day, even if you're not using that space. So, you know, even if it's fluorescent, it's ideal to turn it off, and then when you're back in that space again, turn it on. So we'll just give it a few more seconds just to see if anyone else has got any other questions, as we are doing all right for time at the moment. As my colleague Shashank said, this is being recorded, so once that's been processed and you want to come back and dip back into this webinar just to go back over some of those points or queries again, that will be available to you, so you can go back over that. And obviously all of the links will be available via our website, via our virtual stand, and I can see that Shashank has been posting them throughout the session as well. But everything can be found from just going to Business Energy Scotland's website. The main page, you'll be able to navigate through to the various different sections as well. So there are other elements of energy cost saving on there that we might not have covered on this particular webinar that can help your business a bit further. Okay, if there are no further queries, we will look to wrap that up. It's been great having you here. I hope you found that useful. We've had just had another question here. So I can't necessarily answer that question specifically. That's just about a cost quoted for a company to do an energy report. There are a lot of different variables, and depending what the companies are offering, what that report will detail, and to what extent they're sort of digging into your building, I suppose, in terms of that report. So what I would suggest is getting in touch with us, and we can always advise what the next steps would be. Does seem like quite a high figure, but again, without knowing the detail, I can't say whether that would be fair or not. If they're, say, digging into your building fabric, it's a large building, that could be it could be a fair cost. I don't know if you've got, say, asbestos that might be in the building that you also need to take account into additional PPE. So unfortunately, that's to an extent how long is a piece of string. I think in terms of sort of crises such as the energy crisis or any kind of focused on momentums, you will always get certain companies that do try to benefit from that by perhaps not offering the fairest service, so to speak, or pricing. But it's I can't comment on that specific company there. Okay, yeah, there's nothing else coming through there. Yeah, like I said, hope you found this beneficial, and feel free to dip back into the presentation once that recording is available as well. And it'd be great if you could check out our virtual stand as well and check out some of the other presentations we're doing. We'll be running some Green Champions training at the end of the week, so it'd be great if you could join us for that as well. Thanks a lot and have a great day and rest of the week. Thanks. Bye.